Hey guys, welcome back to another BrPC video. This is Max Lacerda. I'm a BrPC player and the CEO of BrPC Micro stakes. Alright? And today we'll be addressing a question that is very common, especially within micro stakes and low stakes players. That is, what should you be playing? Zoom or regular tables? Which one of those are the best and why? Alright? So you're starting your career, you're playing L2 and L5, whatever, and you see those different type of tables. You don't know which one is better, what are the reasons you should be playing one, or are the reasons you should be playing another. Alright, so that's exactly what I'll be answering in this video. Alright, so to answer that, to give you guys all the data you need to take the best and to make the best decision, I'll need to give the pros and cons of each one of those. Alright, so let's start with the pros here. Pros of Zoom tables. The first thing that comes in mind when I'm talking about Zoom tables is exactly the convenience and comfort of playing. Alright, so it's very easy, it's very straightforward. You just get to the table, you play whenever you want, you stop playing whenever you want. Alright, it's less tables to get more hands in, so just click on start and you are automatically playing a table. Alright, so that's one very important that's a very important pro for Zoom tables. Alright, so very convenient and very comfort for you to be playing. The second thing goes within convenience and comfort, that is starting and finishing whenever you want. Alright, so for example, if you are a person like me that likes to make small breaks within the session, so me for example, I always like to play 55 minutes and make a 5-minute break. You can do exactly that by playing only Zoom tables. Alright, you can play your 55 minutes, then when the time is done, you click on sit out, then you get your 5-minute break, go make a coffee, go drink some water, whatever, then after those 5 minutes you are right back to the session. You haven't lost a single hand, you haven't lost your table, so that's very good for Zoom tables. Alright, a very pro of playing Zoom. One thing also is less decisions. Why? Because for you to make the same volume that you would be making on Zoom on regular tables, for example, if on Zoom you play 3 Zoom tables, to make that same volume you should be playing around 6 or 7 regular tables. So comparing the decisions you need to do on only 3 tables compared to 6 or 7 tables, you make much less decisions on Zoom. Alright, the action is quicker, the pace is faster, so you have less decisions to make. You're much more clear-minded about your decisions, and it's much easier for you to make those decisions. You don't need to be worrying about time it out on one table or time it out on another table, because you are with very few tables. With 3 Zoom tables already can make a very nice volume for a professional poker player. Alright, so that's one very good pro of Zoom tables. Other thing is that it's always running. Alright, except for higher stakes like 500 NL plus, up to 200 NL, it's always running. No matter what time you are the most comfortable with playing, no matter where you are, there will always be tables running. Alright, it's very common to be running. You can just, oh, I want to play at 2 AM in the morning, I want to play at 7 AM because that's the time that I wake up and I feel better at 7 AM. Don't worry, you'll always have game on Zoom tables, especially under an L200. Alright, so if you're a micro low stakes grinder, you have volume every time, every day. That's a very good point of Zoom tables. And now we gotta talk about the good points of regular tables as well. Alright, so Zoom regs, they tend to be better than regs from regular tables. Alright, and recreational players as well. So you usually got softer games when you're playing on regular tables. And it's easy to understand why, especially from recreational players. Okay, so if you're a recreational player, you play for fun. If you start playing Zoom, you have a much more clear understanding of how the game works. You are putting in much more volume, you are seeing much more hands, you are seeing regs using certain sizings, using certain actions. That is much easier for you to adapt and learn to play how to play the game better quicker. So you get more sample in. So the regular and the recreationals, they are better on Zoom tables compared to regular tables. Another thing is, usually on Zoom tables the win rates are lower, so the regs that can't win on Zoom tables, they will not play Zoom. They will go to regular tables because there's nothing they can do. So usually those weaker regs, they are more on regular tables than Zoom tables. Of course we have exceptions, but that's usually what's happening. Alright? Another very important thing is that it's much easier to exploit players on regular tables. Why? Because if you got a recreational player that you see that is 3-betting every time, you are always in a hand with him. You always have the chance of play a hand with him, with that player, right? On Zoom, if you play a hand with him, now you get to another table, and who knows when you're going to encounter that player again. Alright, so if you see a player that you really want to exploit, it's much easier on regular tables, because every hand you have the chance of exploit that player. Alright? The third and most important point, in my opinion, is the higher win rate. Because of all those things, we have weaker regulars, we have worse recreationals, it's much easier to exploit those recreationals. All those things, they culminate to a higher win rate, alright? When you play regular tables, it's mandatory. If you don't make big mistakes that you wouldn't be doing otherwise on Zoom tables, you will have a higher win rate. That's a given, okay? And now, let's go to the cons. Not everything are flowers, not everything is a heaven on earth, so both type of tables will have cons, and that's exactly what we're going to address right now. So, the cons of Zoom tables. It's one of the pros of regular tables. Usually regs and recreationals are better on Zoom tables because they get more sample in, they need to be better to sustain themselves in this environment, alright? So if you're a weaker regular that might win a little bit on regular tables, you'll probably be a loser or a break-even player on Zoom tables. So usually what you do is get rid of the Zoom tables and just play regular tables, alright? So that's a very bad con. And of course you have a lower win rate because you have better regulars and not so bad recreationals. You won't be able to extract as much money as you would on a worse recreational and even a worse reg. Alright, so if a recreational he is limping pre-flop, usually that recreation is much worse than a recreational who never limps pre-flop. Alright? And it's much more common for a recreational to limp on regular tables, for example, than to limp on Zoom tables, because of course usually the worst recreationals are playing on regular tables. But of course every time you see both ends of the spectrum on both tables. You see very bad players playing Zoom and very good players playing regular tables. That's just the usual what's usually happening. Alright? Another very bad thing here is that it's not possible to table select. Alright? So on regular tables, you see that you're playing a bad table. For example, you're playing a table with only regulars. It makes no sense for you to be on that table, so you can just get rid of the table and find another table. But Zoom, you have zero control on what table you are going to play. Alright, so the best that you can do is to take a look at how's the pool, and maybe it has a lot of regulars, maybe it has a little bit less regulars, but you never have any control on the table you're looking to play. Alright, so that's a very bad con of Zoom tables. You are not able to play good tables, you are not able to get good seats, but because it's all random. Alright? But of course, regular tables are not the heaven on earth as well. You have a limited amount of tables maybe you need to play on other sites. So on a lot of sites, the most amount of tables that you can play on even Zoom or regular are 4 tables. But of course, it's very hard to play more than 4 Zoom tables. If you are playing 4 Zoom tables, you are making more than 800 hands an hour. That's a lot of hands. But if you play only 4 regular tables, you're usually not getting that much volume in. So usually you need to find another site to complement your volume. So you take a site and put in as your main source of volume, and you take and you play 4 tables on that site, and you take another site to play more 2 tables. So that's not very nice thing about regular tables. You are capped into 4 tables on most sites. Alright? And one very bad con is a lot of handwork to get into tables, alright? Every time you're getting in and getting out of tables, every time you're looking for the best tables, every time you're getting in and getting out of waiting lists, and that's a lot of handwork. You are never just sit back and playing. You're always playing and looking at the lobby, especially if playing on more than one side. You're looking at one side lobby, you're putting yourself into the waiting list. You're looking at other side lobby, you put yourself on other waiting list. You know, you're trying to start tables, so there are two regulars who start a table, so you can play three-handed. And for example, another table was already running, so now it's not necessary for you to start the table anymore, so you need to get rid of the table. So it's a lot of handwork, and that's like the worst part of playing regular tables. It's not just sit and play. It's like sit, play, look to the lobby, like select the best tables, get in on tables, get out of tables, and it's a lot of handwork. All right. Another con is that it's very easy to level yourself. This can be a pro if you can handle that well. All right. But for example, if you're not a very experienced player, it's very easy for you to, after a couple or 3 or 4 3-bets from the same regular, you start to level yourself. You know, like, oh, he's 3-betting me a lot. Oh, I should be 4-betting more. Oh, he's trying to exploit me. And sometimes and most of the times he's just playing his strategy and he's just getting a lot of good hands, you know. So it's very easy to level yourself, especially if you're not an experienced player, right? But this can be a pro as well, because if you are an experienced player and you don't have a lot of mental issues to not get run over by other regs or other players, it's very easy. You just, alright, he's playing his strategy, and then the other players will level themselves against you while you're just playing your strategy or just playing a range. So, for example, you 3-betted a player 3 times in a row, and you're just playing a range. You got ace queen, ace jack, and tens, for example. You needed to 3-bet every time you got those hands from those positions. But the player on the other side, if he doesn't have a strong mental game, it's very easy for him to start level himself and thinking that you're trying to exploit him and make mistakes in which you will capitalize more. Okay? So those are the pros and cons of Zoom and regular tables. So now let's go to the most important question. What should you choose? Okay? And that's very individual, but I always like to give you guys some recommendations. So I see a lot of players that, for example, weren't able to adapt to regular tables. They were always playing Zoom, and every time they go to play regular tables, they start to make mistakes that they wouldn't make otherwise playing Zoom tables, because they are just stressed out. They are not used to playing regular tables. They need to take a lot of decisions. There are a lot of tables open. They are looking at a lot of lobbies, you know. So sometimes that player will have a higher win rate playing Zoom tables than regular tables, right? But what I see the most often are players who are just used to playing Zoom tables, and they just play Zoom because that's what they are accustomed to doing, and they never give regular tables a chance. In BrPC, regular tables are always the first type of table that you should be playing. All right, when you start on the lowest tier on BrPC Micro, for example, on L5 and L10, you are only allowed to play regular tables, except for 1 or 2 sites in which you can play Zoom, but usually you just can play regular tables. And that's why, because we want to maximize the win rate, because we want to make our players move up quicker and get to stakes in which they really can make money, like 200 NL, as fast as possible. So if this is your goal, I recommend you playing regular tables. But of course, it's always possible for you to make a little bit of both. All right. So for example, you really like the comfort of playing Zoom tables, but you want to have a higher win rate. You are not comfortable having just a 2BB 100 win rate in Zoom tables, so you're looking for playing a little bit more of regular tables. Very easy. You play 2 Zoom tables and 2 regular tables. You get a very nice pace of action. You get a very decent amount of hands per hour, and you are playing a little bit of regular tables with a higher win rate, while you don't need to have all the handwork that you would need otherwise playing only regular tables. All right, so that's it, guys. I'll give my personal choice. All right, I usually play much more regular tables than Zoom tables, because nowadays I'm much more worried about my win rate than my volume. Okay, I have a lot of things going on in my life, have a lot of things going on in poker with BrPC Micro stakes, and a lot of things inside poker, so I really don't want to be going through a lot of swings, and therefore I really don't want to play a lot of zoom tables. I still play a little bit here and there, but my game of choice is regular tables, because I don't mind if I'll play a lower volume, but it's very important for me that my win rate is very consistent, that I don't get into a lot of 20 buy-ins plus downswings, alright, that are very common when you have like a 3 BBs win rate. So I much rather have a 6 BB per 100 hands win rate and play a lower volume and maybe make the same amount of money at the end of the month, but with much less stress to my mental game than having like a 3 BB win rate and going through the swings every time. Alright, so that's it guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.